Here we are again in our little life, and I actually don't know if this is going to be a Sunday shining. We'll just see. So thank you for being there. Thank you for being you. Thank you for all the love and the peace and that you're feeling in your life, and thank you for every time you are searching deeper for more understanding, more wisdom. Every time you say, what? Why is this? Why do I keep hitting myself against this wall? What is it I can't see? Please help me see. Just had to cough. So thank you all also for your donations to me for this change that's going to happen in my life. How and when, I don't know, but I thank you with all my heart for what you've given. And yeah, just a little practical thing. If you wish to donate, when you go to my contact page, there's actually 3 different ways you can do this, because there are fees on PayPal, and so you actually get to pay there is a little fee, and I think really it is okay because PayPal needs to be supported too. But if you give me a pure gift, that's when you click on the one that's called PayPal Me. It's a link you can see on the contact page. I'm pretty sure that when you give me money that way, there's no fee. And yeah, I have to look into the fees, because it just seems like there's fees, yeah, many times. But otherwise, just the donate button. And I've had a little challenge with the language, so that when you go when you go to donate, it's all in Danish, and I'm trying to work out how to make it in English so you can see what you're doing. And I have changed the currency so that you pay in dollars, because it is easier. Most people don't know what Danish crowns are. So yeah, as it is now, we still need money, but what they say is that money will not exist in a while. And that's what I feel very much in my life. I'm being guided to see how, you will be spending some money, because that's the way society is now, but how can you make things really, really simple and still very, very wonderful, very enjoyable? And it is all the mind that we're changing, because the mind, as I've said so many times, the mind is so powerful, and we think it's the truth. The ego makes us believe that everything that we have learnt and everything that we believe is true, whereas the Spirit is saying, just as I said in the beginning of this video, just have a little look. Is this really true? And so this is really a second video, because the video I made before this was outside, and I was talking about how we live our lives and how we see our lives, and how in a modern society the way we think is that you need this enormous amount of money, and there's no way around it. So when you're a child, you learn that you have to go to kindergarten, and then you go to school, and you have to learn all these things so you can have an education, so you can make a lot of money. And nowadays, what you say, when I say a lot of money, most people say that's not a lot of money, because you're just used to everything is so expensive, and you need enormous amounts. And so you have to get an education, you have to get a job, you have to make all this enormous amount of money just to have a home, and it might not even be a very nice home or a very pleasant home, and it might be very, very stuck in with a whole lot of other homes, whatever. and then you have to have a job, and often people, they don't even like their job, but you just have to do it. It's the big machine, the big society machine we have created, and most people have learned to believe there is no way out of that. And my husband and I are challenged with this now because we have really lived below the poverty line all our lives. I mean, I have all my life. I've just, people when they see my budget, they'd say, hey, how was this physically possible that you actually survived? And you can survive on very little, really and truly, and it's just simply because we've learned that it's so expensive to live. Oh, that was what I was going to say, because we have to have it, see how I own some of this house, and so some of the money that is really mine is in this house, and we have to have, the bank have to look at it, and when they see our budget they don't believe it. And so nowadays you can't actually get a loan unless you have a very, very high income. And so it's a little bit challenging because we're just not normal. We have never been. And but I'm sure everything is working out fine. And just touching on, going into all the different aspects of life. Touching on finishing a marriage, which has been really, really something I didn't want to do. And I still feel it's very hard. But sometimes it just has to stop because it's too unhappy. And I think it's really, really important to understand that it's not about being in a war or hating anyone or that anyone is bad, but it's understanding that something has to finish, and it is really like a death. So that was a bit emotional, and there's so many emotions that we people, especially if you're very emotional like I am. It's relationships are a big thing, but I think also the it is really a belief system, and also all the emotional pain from being all the divorces that have been. But as I see it, we just have to let go. At one point we have to realize sometimes we have to let go, and because it's best for everyone. And why would you have to let go of a marriage? Well, because it's unhealthy. And and when we become completely, the more we grow, the more we become completely, or more, you're never going to become completely guided by your heart, because you can always go deeper. You can always go deeper and become wiser, because God is in there, and we will never, it's only when we return to God that we will be completely complete. But as we are in this physical form, I think just always searching for a deeper understanding of everything is just so beautiful. And when a relationship is holding you back, and it is actually draining you, and you have tried what you can do to move out of it, I think I'm sure it's the will of God to stop it. You have to stop it. So the whole thing of the Christian people say God hates divorce. It's not true. Divorce is, of course, just to get divorced all the time is not healthy, because it's not, it's just not the right thing to do. But as I've said so many times, we're all on this soul mission, and we all came to experience different things. And if that is what your soul has come to experience, to be divorced many times, that's what you're going to do, because you need it. So the whole thing of judging anyone or anything, we can't really do, and we shouldn't do anymore, because it's really an illusion that you can't judge anyone or anything. All you can do is walk your own path. And I think when you're in a relationship, and that's what really happens often, that when one starts to awaken, they leave the other person because they just can't do it anymore. But sometimes they both awaken, they start, and they can follow each other, and they can go through this. But I think it's very rare, really. And so how can a relationship be unhealthy? Well, when it becomes addictive, and you actually are holding each other down, you're holding each other back, and it's simply because your makeup, because we're always changing, and the person I am now is not the same as I was yesterday. I'm different now, and that makeup, it's a bad word, the combination of aspects of the the being that I am, with all the aspects that are me, they don't resonate with my husband as it is now. They might in 20 years' time, who knows? But when you've tried for 23 years, really, really intensively, and it just will not work, I really feel God is saying with a big sledgehammer, stop now. So because it is destructive for both of you, it's just not healthy. So a lot of the sadness is really just memory, I think, and fear probably also. So yeah, there's so many emotions, of course. Yeah. So anyway, let's leave the whole marriage thing, and yeah, just trust that we are all these beautiful, beautiful, amazing beings, children of the Lord, and we are the Lord, and we have come on an amazing journey, and we are never alone, and we are always protected and guided, and there is a deep, deep meaning with what we do and who we are and everything in our lives. There is a deep, deep meaning, and it is completely, it is really all love. It's nothing but love. Everything is love in all sorts of different forms, shapes and colours. And the more we get this, the more we relax and stop clinging. Stop clinging to, that's what I've been doing, clinging to the idea that this marriage was a good thing. It's not anymore. It was once. And or anything in your life. This way of eating is a good thing. This way of doing this is a good thing. Maybe not. So always living in this dance. So I'm going to have some tea because we're moving around. On the other channel, which I really have left in many ways, and it's not very active, I mentioned that I would one day show some pictures from this farm, and it's very fascinating. It was I can show the front page, I think. Yeah. Maybe get a bit more light on here. So this man, he decided, which was absolutely amazing, to simply go to every single house in this area where I live. I mean, I think it's hundreds, to find old photos here about when this house was built and just the story of this home, this farm. And it's just really, really wonderful how he's archived all this and brought it out to people to see. And especially if you're living in the house, it's fun to see. And it is very fascinating. Many things are very fascinating. One thing, I think they were so tough, to see how tough humans were. And I have some other books. I have so many beautiful books about Denmark 100 years ago, and how 40% of our land was grazing land for cows, because we were a huge cow nation, because we're just very, very, very tiny, but we were big really on the world scale compared to the amount of land, because the Danish, okay, we're going into a little journey here. The Danish land is as if you want to look on a map, it's just over Germany, and really, as far as I understand it, it is actually from the Ice Age that the topsoil from Sweden and Norway, especially Norway, was pushed down and actually formed Denmark. So it's a very low lying country. Who knows how much is here in 50 years? We might be underwater, but it is perfect for farming. That's why we do produce a lot of food. It's perfect for farming. So being a milking girl was very, very common in Denmark, and it's affected, of course, the mind and the whole way we are as Danes. Many things have affected us. But just the stories of these girls who, because it was always the girls who did the milking, the women. And on Zealand, the island I live on, they had different routines from in Jutland on the mainland. Here, they would let out the cows, and I just have to check. I'm too busy. I was told to be peaceful this morning. Yeah. So as far as I could read in this other book, is that they would in the summertime the cows would be out grazing all summer, and they would actually move with the neighbours' cows. They would go together, all the cows from the different farms. So they would just bring them out there in the springtime, and they would be out there all summer, and they would actually move around the grazing areas naturally. So they had no fences or anything. So the girls had to go and find the cows. The girls from each farm had to go and find the cows where they were, and it took a long time. And they milked them 2 or 3 times a day. So they were walking and walking and walking and looking for cows. And they would just milk them in the field. And the calves would be in the stables, or I think often they actually killed the calves because they needed all the milk. So that's a different story. And they would have to carry home this milk, and they had these hard cushion things they would sew, and they put up on their head, and they would put the milk bucket, which was shaped with a wide bottom, so it could sit on their head, and they would carry 20 kilos on their head. Up to 20 kilos, which is just so much. They'd have to put it up on a pole and then get under it, and then like that. But of course that was too much, I think, 20. So they ruined their backs. And then when they got the runkles, they started growing these beets, sugar beets, for milk production. The cows started milking much more, and everything changed. But it's just so fascinating to understand how they lived, and they were in nature more or less all the time. I think they were barefoot all summer also. So anyway, going back to the Zealand, this way of having the cows was affected the way the women's lives, so that they had many milking girls on Zealand, because in the summertime they needed more, because they had so much work, because they had to go and find the cows. And so in the wintertime there was less work. So what could they do? Well, they did sewing, and so that's why the sewing tradition is much more advanced on this island than it was in Jutland, because in Jutland they took the cows into the stable. They had them on a string or something, and they took them in. There was a different tradition. It's just so fascinating. And I just love how people used to live so close to nature and be so tough. They were really tough. And did they have mental illness? Not much. Did they have physical illness? Not much. So it's just so fascinating. So let me just show you the pictures from this farm, which is just so fascinating. I just have to cover up the address because, yeah, it's best. So I think this is the most beautiful picture in the whole book. This was the people who lived here. Look at them. They didn't get very many children. They only had one. This is the mother and father. I think she was in her 60s. And him too. And that's their son and daughter-in-law. Isn't it amazing? And that's really where we have our greenhouse. They're standing there where we have the greenhouse there. Hard-working people. And we've taken off that thatched roof, so we've built it up. So we have windows up top. That's where I'm upstairs. But there's so many stories about this place, about that they actually, at one point there were 16 people living here. I mean, just so many things. How there was a carpenter living here and he built his own coffin. That was very common. They built their own coffin so it was ready for when they died. Amazing. There we go. Yeah, so pretty amazing, eh? And what you can see is that human beings have changed since then. This is really only 100 years ago. Yeah. How people have changed their consciousness, and of course that is because we have because of modernization. I mean, I wouldn't be the person I am unless if I had not lived in such a modern way. If my parents had been living that way, I would have been very different. So all this modernization, which for many of us who really want the earth to be, go back to it a much more beautiful place, which it is, with the new earth, everything's all well. But we get, some of us really hate modern living, but really it as I see it, it was necessary. It was necessary for us because otherwise we would not become enlightened. We needed to be have more comfort and an easier life, so that we could focus more on the inner world. So, but I think it's just, yeah, it's so fascinating, and we can use the knowledge from the old people, what they did, but really everything is changing, and everything will change enormously, I think. But just to find ways in your life to see how can you make this more simple, how can you live in a more natural way, how can you give yourself more time. I think that's a really big one. And for many years in Denmark you have not been able to have a part-time job. It just more or less didn't exist. You had to work full-time. And now it's slowly coming that people are choosing to work less, because if you're working all the time and spending time getting to work, when are you going to just do nothing and just feel? So it will be coming more and more. We need time to just do nothing, to just feel, who am I? Just feel my heart. Feel. So we're instead of being a product of society, we're going to come into our own true self and start to be fueled and guided from within. instead of from without. So it's a beautiful thing when we make it to that place where we feel that we are guided from within and we are not dominated by society. We live in society, but we are not a product of society. So yeah, we can start to really shape our lives from our heart. And so what I feel is really important as we go is, as I've said so many times, to just trust the process. Keep coming back to yourself, keep feeling the peace, feeling the love, sensing how all of life around you is really guiding you. And I just feel, yeah, nature is really, really helping us to move forward and to create this new world where we will live in harmony, be harmonious, healthy, wholesome beings that are very, very spiritual, highly evolved in a physical body, who love life, who love to be, love to be in nature, love to be with each other, humans who can nourish each other and be there with their love and respect for each other, so that every person gets to live here in their own truth and nobody dominates or judges, pushes down, that everyone can be here and blossom. So I'm sure it's coming more and more. So it's so wonderful. So this was, again, a real mixture. And yeah, it's just the way I am. It's my thing. I go everywhere. It's hard to limit myself. So let's do our message for the day.
The birds are so happy and so busy. They're just so full of enthusiasm.
Okay, so today is the Gabriel message number 33, and it is called Be Willing to Face the Fears of the Past and Move into New Dimensions of Love. Dear one, you have come to a time when you know that the way you have always perceived your world may seem like it is no longer working. You may even feel as though your childhood traumas or other things from your past you are not proud of are crowding into your present awareness. This is a very good sign, because all memories come into your mind to be released, so that you can live in the present. We encourage this release of past memories and fear, so you'll be able to move on with your life. Whether you do this through prayer, personal journaling, talking to a friend, or going through counseling, the important thing is to be willing to face the fears of the past. Hold them in the light of loving awareness and then let them go. When the healing light of love, compassion and acceptance is shone on old patterns and fears, they lose their power and are easier to release. Once you let go of old habits of thoughts and feelings, you become free to turn your attention away from the past and to focus on creating the future you would like for yourself and for your world. Though veils between heaven and earth are thinner now, this means that the desires of your heart and the focus of your mind can bring about the manifestation of that which is in your highest good. Your thoughts are now creating your present and future reality. Whatever you focus on increases in energy, so it becomes the dominant force in your world. You can choose to focus on the good, the beautiful, and the love inherent in all things, or you can choose to increase the levels of fear inside you. If you begin to look for good, you will find it. And the more you look for good in your world, the more it will increase because you are giving it energy by your focus. You will also begin to notice that you feel more loving, more peaceful, and more optimistic. People will seem much nicer to you. Your daily struggle will become less. All this is possible because you begin to look for and focus on the good, and are willing to have more love and harmony in your life. It will seem like a miracle, but miracles are available to all who will receive them. The angels are also available to you now in a way that was never possible before. We will assist this entire process of change, of changing the way you perceive your world, if you but ask us. Your thoughts are prayers flowing out into the ethers and bring to you that which you focus on. What do you have to lose by calling on your guardian angel and asking for more love, peace and harmony in your life? What could it hurt to ask to see that which is good instead of that which causes pain? There is an incredible simplicity in the truth of universal law. You do not have to be alone in your struggle. Angelic assistance is always available to you, here to bring love and light to the world. Our message is always one of peace and harmony. We seek to bring only good into your life. Entertain the possibility that what we are saying may actually be true, that what you think about can create your future reality. Notice your thought patterns throughout the day. Is this what you want in your future? Begin to focus your thoughts only on that which you want in your life. When you notice negativity in your mind, say, that is not an acceptable reality. This is what I do want. More love, greater abundance, harmony in my relationships, and beauty in my world. Before long you will notice the changes in your life as that which you ask for manifests. These changes are the new dimensions of love promised to you. You are the one that holds the key to your future by what you are thinking today. Remember your message from the angels today. Be willing to face the fears of the past and move into new dimensions of love.
See, she's jumping off the cliff. Courage.
So this was a really wonderful, became a Sunday shining. And I've got this all wrong here. Been all crooked. It's just really wonderful to, yeah, it's just so amazing how life is shaping itself perfectly for us, and that every bit of pain from our past has come to be released. And I feel that that's what I sense. This, doing this film helped me, as it has done so many times, to understand that the pain that I experienced when my parents split up is going to be released now that I split up with my husband. So it's not going to be repeated, but it's going to be released for me, or I will allow it to be released, because any sadness we are holding on to is just going to hold us back. We won't be able to create this beautiful new world if we're holding on to some old pain. It's not going to happen. So it's so wonderful to just allow it to come up. All the sadness, all the grief, all the guilt, whatever a little child feels when their parents leave each other, just let it all come out. So yeah, there's some releasing to do. So have a beautiful Sunday and an amazing golden week, full of golden age living. Take care, my beautiful ones, and I'll see you soon. Bye.